Hey everyone, so this is an update video and I'm Patrick from the future, and the reason I'm talking about this video is because there has been a slight change in what we use throughout the course. So in the upcoming videos, you're going to see me using Sagemaker Studio Classic notebooks. So if you click on this icon, you'll see that in the future, videos that I'm going to be training the models, deploying the models, and doing all the coding is going to be in Sagemaker Studio Classic. However, as you can see, Studio Classic will reach end of maintenance December 31st, 2024, and it's suggesting that we use Jupyterlab 4. So in the course, what I want you to do is please switch to Jupyterlab. Now, how do you do that? Well, over here in the top left, you see I have this icon, Jupyterlab. Now, we have to create a Jupyterlab space. So I click on it. I give it a name. I'm going to say Sagemaker course. It's going to be a private space because we don't want to share this domain with anyone. And then we create the space. And now, some of the differences are going to arise between how I teach the course with the older Sagemaker Studio Classic versus the new Jupyterlab. And the reason I'm showing you this is because in the future, there's going to be a lot of times when tools change, UIs change, and I'm not going to re-record all 15 hours of content just because we're using a different code editor. Instead, I'm going to walk you through the differences, and that way in the future, you might have to touch legacy notebooks, and you might have to use the new Jupyterlab notebooks. So I want to show you both, okay? So over here, when we set up the Jupyterlab space, we need to set up the instance type, what kind of server we're going to be using, and we're going to go with the MLT3 medium, and we're going to use this SageMaker distribution 2.2.1. And the good thing about this is a Docker image, and basically the Docker image gets downloaded from AWS's ECR, which is the Elastic Container Registry, because that's where these images live. And these images allow you to have not only the basic NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, but also if you choose this SageMaker distribution, it's going to have everything already installed that we need. It's going to have PyTorch on it. It's going to have the transformers library installed on it. So we don't need to do any additional setup. So I'm going to run the space. And when I say you don't need to do any additional setup, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So until this sets up, which is probably like 30 seconds, if I come back to Studio Classic, as I mentioned to you, the course will be taught in this SageMaker Studio Classic, and the UI is going to be almost identical. It's going to look the same, so you're not going to have to worry about me clicking somewhere else. There is just some infrastructure changes that AWS is going through, and the new Jupyterlabs are faster. They have a lot more things pre-installed on them. That's why we have to use it. Now, in the course, as I mentioned again, because I recorded it over the summer in 2024, I used SageMaker Studio Classic because back then they did not have the end of support banner over here, so I didn't know that we should switch to Jupyterlab. Now, as I mentioned, it will not make a difference for you. But in the upcoming videos, I am using SageMaker Studio Classic, so I'm going to click on Open, and I'm going to show you the differences. The main differences, okay? So if I open the old SageMaker Studio Classic Jupyter notebooks, as you see, it's going to ask me what kind of image I want to use and what kind of kernel I want to use, and the instance type over here. Now, we're going to talk about this in the upcoming videos, but what I want you to know is when you select an image over here previously, I had to search for PyTorch CPU optimized or TensorFlow GPU optimized image, and that was a hassle. With the new Jupyterlab notebooks, it's all done behind the scenes. So you don't have to select whether you want PyTorch, TensorFlow. It's going to be already included in your Jupyterlab experience, as opposed to this old SageMaker Studio Classic where we have to select what kind of image we want to use and what PyTorch version we want on it and things like that. So I'm going to hit on cancel. over here. And the other big difference is that when you want to change the instance, you can just click over here and you can click on the instance type, the instance type that you want, and you can change it. Okay. Now, remember we created our Jupyterlab application here. So now if we refresh, as you can see, it's ready. Here is the name. Here's the application. It's running, it's private, and we can either open it or stop it. Now, as I mentioned to you, in the old Jupyterlab, you had to come over here, and this is where you were able to change the instance type. Now, with the new Jupyterlab, if you want to change the instance type to a more powerful, CPU or GPU for your notebook only, then you come over here, and this is where you can change the instance. However, as you can see for me right now, I cannot change the instance, and that's because my Sagemaker course Jupyter application is running. So I have to click on stop space. I'm going to stop the space, and as you can see, it's stopping. Now if I come back over here, you see that it is stopped. So if I come back over here, I can now select which instance I want to choose. Okay, and that's how you can change the instances in Jupyterlab. Now, I want to run it again because I want to show you the main differences, which is compared to the old Studio Classic. One of the great things about the new Jupyterlab 4, besides that it has PyTorch installed on it, Transformers library, and everything else behind the scenes, is that it's so much faster than the old Sagemaker Studio Classic notebooks, especially on startup. So if I refresh this, oops, it was actually already there. I can open it, and it's opening up right now. And as you can see, it's the exact same UI. So this was the old one. You have file, edit, view, run, kernel, and this is the new one. And as you can see, one of the major differences is over here, you don't select the kernel. In the old Sagemaker Studio Classic that I'm going to be working on throughout the course, I have this up at the top right corner. With the new Jupyterlab, as I mentioned, you have to stop your Jupyterlab and go to this setting, and then that's where you can change it. Okay, now you can change the theme over here to dark, and as you can see, it's almost identical. Now, if we want to create a new notebook, we can come here to File, New Notebook, and this is the only kernel that we have right now. It's the Python 3. We don't need other kernels. We're not going to use PySpark, GlueSpark. You don't need to worry about those. So we select this. And what's really interesting is that it's already running. So it's super fast. So if I import NumPy as NP and run it, as you can see, it's already there. If I do import transformers, the transformers library that we're going to be using, it's already installed. So in the previous setup with Sagemaker Studio Classic, we'd have to come over here. We have to select the data science image, which had the appropriate PyTorch setup, had the appropriate transformers library. So it was a big hassle compared to the new one, which is a lot different. Now, again, if you want to shut down your new Jupyterlab 4 notebooks, you just come over here and you click on the kernels and you click on shut down all, and that will shut down all the kernels. Now we also want to shut down the language servers, and we can press close all, and we close all. And as you can see, we have our notebook, our untitled notebook. And from here on, I want you to use this Jupyterlab space as opposed to the old Sagemaker Studio Classic notebooks, which I will be using throughout the course. As you can see, it's identical. So the UI is basically identical with a few minor changes. As you can see, we have a lot of warnings here with the old Sagemaker Studio Classics that as of February 1st, they will no longer support creating or restarting of notebook kernels. So they're deliberately trying you to get away from Sagemaker Studio Classic and switch to Jupyterlab. Okay, and as you can see, Jupyterlab has almost the identical UI. You have the same buttons, the same setup, so it's just something behind the scenes that it made it faster than the old Sagemaker Studio Classic notebooks, and it also has a lot more things pre-installed on it, okay? So verify that you've shut it down, you have no running kernels, and then you can exit out of it. This is my old notebook that I just showed you guys. This is a Studio Classic. And a lot of companies still use legacy notebooks, so that's why it's might be beneficial for you to see how this works in real life. You might have a big software update in Sagemaker or somewhere else, and you have to learn how to adopt to the new environment, okay? So now here is the Jupyterlab, and feel free to click on stop. And every time you need it, you can just click on start over here. So you click on the run button. Actually, it's unable to complete the operation because it was still in the process of shutting down. So if I click on run, as you can see, it is starting, and it should start in like 10, 20, 30 seconds, depending on the current AWS infrastructure load. But if I refresh the page, it's still starting, and let's see how long it takes for it. And in the meantime, I don't even want to show you how slow this would be with the old Sagemaker Studio Classic notebooks, because those take at least 5 minutes. Now with the Jupyterlab, let's do a hard refresh. And as you can see, it's already in the running status. And once you're not using it, just click on stop, and then it's stopping it, and you can safely exit out of it. Okay? So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.